Hey everybody, welcome to the MaffmanJones movie channel. I'm your host John Maffio, and today I'm not in my normal studio set because I've been running around a lot, but I did notice that they released a new trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming. And normally I'm pretty trustworthy of trailers, but I think I'm going to start taking the Eric Striffler route, the Copster route, and not watch trailers anymore because Spider-Man Homecoming, I like everything I'm seeing. Let me get that out of the way. Let me preface by saying that I really liked what I'm seeing in the trailer, but they showed too much. I'm just being frank, they showed way too much in this trailer. I feel like I've seen 95% of the movie. Um, Having said that, I have something else that I feel like I had to accept with myself. Personally, I don't know how everybody else is going to feel. I've seen people who are very excited for Homecoming, but personally, this trailer made me have something click in my head that maybe I didn't have acceptance of before, but now I do. I don't think we're ever going to get Spider-Man movies better than the movies we saw in the Raimi movies. I'm not really here to discuss specific details of the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer 2, because if you haven't seen it yet, I would say don't watch it if you're a Spider-Man fan, because you're going to go into it knowing a lot of the movie if you do. Back in the day, superhero movies were made without the limitations of a universe. They weren't made to set up future sequels. Well, sequels, yes, but if they're successful, they were made as pure cinematic films and nothing else. Obviously made for money, obviously made for business purposes, but back then there was more integrity to these movies. Richard Donner's Superman, Tim Burton's Batman, both of them. The original Bryan Singer X-Men movies, the Blade movies, Sam Raimi 1 and 2 Spider-Man movies, the ones that I adore the most. And even Christopher Nolan's Batman films, they were all made as their own thing. Did they set up sequels sometimes? Yes. But they were their own movies that's focused on their own characters and their own stories in their own little world. They didn't have to worry about this whole businessy perspective, this state of mind where you have to make a movie, but you also have to think about the next 5 movies, the next other movies that will connect to other movies that will create a universe. No, I'm kind of getting sick of that. But anyway, that's just the world we live in now. Marvel Cinematic Universe, Kevin Feige and crew, they did something spectacularly genius with the Avengers and the leading up to the Avengers, but it's also caused some extreme bullshit in Hollywood. They're planning on making Sony's planning on making a new Venom movie, but it has to set up this rated R superhero, supervillain universe. Why? But yes, the point I'm trying to make here is that I don't think any Spider-Man movie, particularly from here on out to the end of time, unless there is a time where Hollywood realizes this universe thing isn't really working and they go back to the basics, is they're never going to be as good as Sam Raimi's movies. The first 2 anyway. If you know me, you know I live and breathe Spider-Man and Star Wars, and I truly do believe that Spider-Man 2 is one of the best movies of the 21st century. It's one of the best superhero movies that's ever been made, but it also is just a great film. It also captures the brilliance of the character, the essence of Peter Parker in such a way that it's so genuine. You get the guilt out of him, you get the idea of him trying to hold on to the responsibility of being both Peter Parker and Spider-Man, all this stuff weighing down on him, and it's just crippling him as a human being, and that's why he quits in the middle of the movie, because he's just done with it, but it's handled so well. You really feel what he's going through, and I don't think, for some reason, I just don't feel like any Spider-Man movie moving forward is going to be as good because you have limitations now. You have to think about, when you make a Spider-Man movie in the MCU, you have to think about, 1, how it's going to connect to the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Avengers movies. 2, you have to realize how it's going to set up future sequels and which characters from which of these movies are going to be in other solo movies or in TV shows or blah 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 blah. You have to make sure it has a certain aesthetic because all these Marvel movies have an aesthetic. There are some great movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not denying that. I love Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, the first Iron Man. I feel like I'm going on a rant right now, but I'm just trying to make a weird point here. There are limitations now. When you make a superhero movie, especially in the MCU, you have to think about a lot more than just making a good movie about a really memorable character that people can relate to. I just have this sinking suspicion, this really, really sad feeling that we're never going to get movies better than the original 2 Spider-Man movies, especially the second one. But in also another way, I'm kind of glad that this movie's doing its own thing and trying to be this weird plot about Spider-Man becoming an Avenger, because the first two Spider-Man movies from 2002 and 2004 already did the origin story of Spider-Man pretty damn well. So why redo that when you could tell new, fascinating stories with this character? So the idea of him and his main plot seemingly trying to become an Avenger and looking up to Tony Stark as a fatherly mentor figure, I could dig that. I could. Does it take away from Spider-Man's movie? Yeah, but seeing as this film is in a connected universe, it makes sense that something would be connected to Peter Parker in some way, seeing how they set him up in Civil War. For me personally, getting to the point again, I just feel like we're never going to get movies better than the first two Spider-Man movies from back in the day. But there is room to tell very fun stories now. Doesn't mean they have to be bad movies. No, I'm sure Spider-Man Homecoming is going to be a well-made movie. It's going to be a good movie, a fun movie even. But I don't think you can ever get what we got back in the day. If you were around back then and you had the privilege of seeing those first two movies on the big screen, it was something special. And it's not to say these movies don't have to be special, but it feels like there's something missing from Spider-Man Homecoming. It's connected. Spider-Man is connected to everything else in this universe, so it has to therefore connect as a movie to everything else. And there's no room for integrity completely 100% when it comes to aesthetics, cinematography, everything going on. Everything has to be somewhat similar to everything else. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But at the same time, it provides other different cool opportunities for future storytelling for this character. I know I'm trying to make a point here, but I also feel like I'm just kind of rambling. But I just want to get these thoughts out before I feel differently about them in July. Right now, in this moment, I just feel like something's happening with Spider-Man as a character in a theatrical sense. He's not the same anymore. We went through some good trials. We got a bad third movie. It got rebooted for two movies that people don't exactly like. It's very divisive, those Amazing Spider-Man movies anyway. And now we got what we wanted. People wished for him to be with the Avengers, and now he's with the Avengers. People are going to complain anyway, no matter what happens with anything that is beloved. So if the movie isn't good, or if it has problems, if people have a big problem with Tony Stark, well, you asked for Spider-Man to be in this universe. So be careful what you wish for sometimes. People who wanted Spider-Man to be in the MCU with the Avengers and have these filmmakers and people in that studio make a movie that is just centered completely on Peter Parker without connecting to the bigger picture, well, you're just wrong. It's not what's going to happen. They're going to bring similarities to what they've been doing with the previous characters like Thor, Captain America, and Ant-Man, so on and so forth. So you're going to get that. And if it makes a lesser movie than what it could have been, well, you take the pros and the cons. As a damned dedicated and loving Spider-Man fan, I'm accepting, personally, on camera, that I just don't see the movies going into the future being better than what we got with the Sam Raimi movies. Because those were something special. And these could be special too, but in a different way. But those movies, like the Tim Burton Batman movies, like the Richard Donner Superman movies, like the Bryan Singer X-Men movies, the original ones, they had something that these movies don't have. And that's an identity. The new Spider-Man movies are going to be identified as a connection to the MCU, not as their own movies. And if you can live with that, cool, you have a great fun time in the movies, but they're never going to be the movies that we got back then. We live in a different time now. Movies are made differently now than they were back then. But as I mentioned before, can we go back to basics one day? Sure, maybe the universe thing will blow up in its face one day because we've just done too much, we've saturated the market too much, and we'll go back to the basics. But for now, there's just a lot of limitations now due to what's going on in the business making of Hollywood. But being completely honest and frank, despite everything I'm saying right now, I still think that Spider-Man Homecoming looks like a really fun movie. The characters look fun. I'm really intrigued by Michael Keaton's Vulture. I hope they give him a lot to do because they're not really showing much of him. So either they're hiding him or he doesn't have anything to do at all and he's just butchered and wasted. But I'm hoping for the former. There's a big cast in this movie. They're not really showing off much of the cast still. So maybe they all have very minor roles and they're also kind of wasted just to be there. But we'll have to see. I'm really excited. I love that there's a set piece on the Staten Island Ferry. I really do. But I kind of wish I didn't see it. And also, there's other set pieces that were revealed in this trailer that I wish I didn't see. But it really makes me excited because they're showing vulnerability to Peter Parker in his fighting with these antagonists in different ways, and that's exciting for me. The movie looks really good. I just wish they didn't show as much as they did in the trailer. But now I want to know from you guys, what did you think of the new Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, if you've seen it? If you haven't, I advise that you stay away. But if you have seen it, what did you think of it? Also, if you have anything to say in response to what I've been saying besides that, in terms of the whole connective tissue thing, let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the rest of my social medias and the Odyssey page where I write stuff down below. Once again, I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones. Up, up, and away, web! I'll see you guys next time. Go, web, go! Go, go.